Before God gives you wealth, He tests you with this. You've been praying for breakthrough, asking for financial blessing, believing that God will provide, and still, you're stuck in lack. You've quoted the verses. You've declared the promises. You've tithed. You've fasted. You've tried to stay faithful, but it feels like heaven is silent, like God's holding back, like maybe abundance is for everyone else, but not you. Let me tell you something that might change your life. God isn't punishing you. He's preparing you. Before God can release wealth into your hands, He must first release bondage from your heart. Because God will never bless you with something that will replace Him. He's not interested in blessing your ego, fueling your pride, or funding a lifestyle that leads you away from Him. He wants to bless you, but He won't bless a mess. God's wealth is sacred. It's purposeful. It's heavy. And if He gave it to you too soon, it would crush you, not carry you. That's why He slows you down. That's why He cuts people off. That's why He convicts you before He promotes you. Because before God gives you wealth, He gives you wisdom. Before He gives you increase, He gives you discipline. Before He trusts you with overflow, He trains you in obedience. This isn't just about money. It's about maturity. It's about mission. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just receive wealth, but who handles it for the glory of God. So if you've been wondering, why hasn't God blessed me yet? This message is for you, because before God can fill your hands, He has to fix your heart. Let's talk about the things God must do in your life before He can release the wealth He wants to give you. Number 1, God breaks the idol of money first, before He blesses you with it. Let's get one thing straight. God will never bless you with something you worship. And for many people, money is an idol. They won't say it out loud. They'll still show up at church, still say God is my provider, still tithe out of obligation. But deep down, they trust money more than they trust God. How do you know money is an idol? It controls your emotions. It controls your peace. It controls your decisions. It controls your identity. When you have it, you feel valuable. When you lose it, you feel like a failure. When others have more, you feel jealous. When you get more, you feel powerful. That's not a tool. That's a God. And God is a jealous God. He will never compete with your idols. He will tear them down before He ever blesses you with them. Look at the rich young ruler in Luke 18. He obeyed the commandments. He was successful. He was respected. But when Jesus told him to give it up and follow Him, he walked away sad. Not because he didn't believe, not because he didn't pray, but because he loved his money more than his Messiah. And Jesus let him walk. You can't receive wealth from God if you're still bowing to the world's version of it. God's wealth comes through stewardship, not status. It comes through trust, not control. So sometimes, before God blesses you, He'll test you. He'll put you in a season where money dries up, where your backup plans fall apart, where your savings get drained, not to punish you, but to reveal where your faith really is. Because it's in the drought where you learn who your source truly is. It's in the lack where the idol is exposed. And once you let it die, God can finally trust you to carry what you no longer worship. Money is not evil, but the love of it, that's where the problem lies. So if you're asking for wealth, ask yourself first, has God broken the idol in me yet? Because until He does, He'll withhold the blessing not out of anger, but out of mercy. He'd rather delay the gift than watch it destroy you. And that is love. Number 2, your character must outweigh your cash. Integrity before increase. Let me tell you the truth. No one wants to hear, God cares more about your character than your comfort. You're asking for the bag, but God is checking your backbone. Because money in the hands of someone with no integrity is a weapon, not a blessing. It becomes manipulation. It becomes pride. It becomes corruption dressed in Christian language. That's why God delays financial breakthrough for some people. Not because they're not gifted, but because they're not grounded. You don't need more opportunities. You need more integrity. You don't need a raise. You need refinement. You want to know how God measures whether you're ready for wealth? He watches what you do when no one's watching. Do you cut corners when it's convenient? Do you lie to make the numbers look better? Do you make promises you don't keep? Do you give only when people see you? Because if your private life is a mess, God's not going to make you publicly wealthy, not until the foundation is fixed. God doesn't just fund goals, He funds trust. And if you want to be trusted with more, you have to master the season of less. Joseph was called to manage a nation's wealth, but first, God let him be sold, let him be betrayed, let him be falsely accused, let him sit in prison for years. Why? Because the palace requires the kind of strength the pit produces. If God would have elevated Joseph before the prison, he might have led with arrogance instead of humility. He might have ruled with revenge instead of wisdom. He might have used Pharaoh's throne to promote himself instead of God. So what did God do? He developed Joseph's character before he released cash, and He'll do the same with you. If you're in a tight season, don't despise it. That's where God teaches you to lead, to serve, to humble yourself. That's where He builds integrity, honesty, discernment, and discipline. Because if your character can't carry the weight of the blessing, your life will collapse under the pressure of your own prayers. So before you ask for more, ask yourself, am I becoming the kind of person God can trust with wealth? Not just someone who's gifted, but someone who's faithful. Because God isn't looking for flashy, He's looking for solid. Number 3. God cleans your motives. Why do you really want to be blessed? Let's go deeper now. You've been asking God to bless you, but let's be honest. Why? What's your motive? Because God is not just listening to your words, He's reading your heart. James 4:3 says, "You ask and do not receive, because you ask wrongly, to spend it on your passions." God is not moved by manipulation. He's not tricked by spiritual-sounding prayers. He doesn't bless you just because you sound holy. He blesses you when your heart is aligned with His. Let me ask you something bold. If God gave you wealth today, would you still seek Him tomorrow? If you had no more financial needs, if every bill was paid, if every dream was funded, would you still fall on your knees and cry out to Him like you do now? Or would you drift? Would your prayer life shrink? Would your faith get lazy? See, that's what God is protecting you from. He's not just guarding your lack. He's guarding your loyalty. Because for too many people, blessing becomes the very thing that buries their fire. They get the house and stop going to church. They get the raise and start chasing status. They get the platform and forget the altar. God will not give you a gift that kills your dependence on Him. That's why before the increase, He purifies your intentions. He checks your desire for status. He tests your craving for attention. He confronts your hidden pride. He exposes the places where you're asking Him to bless your ego instead of His kingdom. Listen, God has no problem with you being wealthy, but He has a major problem when wealth has you. So don't just ask, "God, bless me financially." Ask, "God, cleanse my motives. Fix my heart. Burn away anything in me that would use your blessing for selfish gain." Because when your motive is mission, God will fund it. When your motive is impact, God will open the windows of heaven. But if your motive is still prove them wrong, if it still make my name great, if it still finally be in control, then God in His mercy will withhold the wealth. Because the blessing that pulls you away from Him isn't a blessing at all. Number 4. You must learn to sow before you expect to reap. Let's get one thing straight. You cannot reap where you have not sown. You can pray for financial breakthrough all day long, but if you're not planting, don't expect a harvest. This is a kingdom principle, not a prosperity gimmick. Galatians 6:7 says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap." You want more? God says, "Show me what you've sown." And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about your faithfulness, your time, your obedience, your generosity, your service, and yes, your resources. Let me ask you this. Have you sown into others the very thing you're asking God to release into your life? You want financial blessing, but are you stingy with the little you have? You want promotion, but are you too proud to serve? You want overflow, but you're afraid to give away what's in your hand. Listen, God doesn't bless closed fists. If you can't trust Him with $100, what makes you think He'll trust you with 100,000? The way you handle the seed determines if you're ready for the storehouse. Some of you are praying for miracles while ignoring principles. You want multiplication without sacrifice. You want provision without obedience. You want to skip seed time and jump straight to harvest. But that's not how the kingdom works. Luke 6:38 says, "Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over." But did you catch the first word? Give. God multiplies what you release, not what you hoard. And here's what's wild. God will often ask you to sow in famine. He'll ask you to give when it doesn't make sense, to bless someone else when you barely have enough for yourself. Why? Because He's not just testing your wallet, He's testing your faith. Can you trust Him as your source, even when your savings say otherwise? Because when you sow in faith, you give God the opportunity to blow your mind. But when you withhold in fear, you delay the very breakthrough you're begging for. Don't wait for overflow to start sowing. Start now. Start small. Start faithfully. The ground doesn't care how you feel. It responds to the seed. And the kingdom doesn't reward intention. It rewards obedience. So if you want wealth, start sowing like someone who believes it's coming. Number 5, He heals your view of yourself, so you don't self-sabotage the blessing. Let's talk about something most people ignore. You're asking God to bless you, to increase you, to promote you, but deep down, you don't believe you're worthy of it. You pray with your mouth, but doubt with your heart. And whether you realize it or not, your self-image is blocking your breakthrough. Because God can open the windows of heaven, but if you still see yourself through the lens of shame, fear, or failure, you'll sabotage every blessing He sends. This is deeper than money. It's about identity. Some of you are living under a spirit of poverty, not just in your finances, but in your mind. You think small. You expect lack. You assume struggle is your destiny. Because somewhere along the way, you started believing lies. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'll always be broke. God blesses other people, not people like me. Let me speak truth over you right now. You are a child of the King. You are not an orphan. You are not cursed. You are not too broken. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. You are loved. You are royalty in disguise. And until you believe that, you'll keep pushing away the very thing you're praying for. God has to heal how you see yourself, because how you see yourself determines how you steward the blessing. If you still believe you're unworthy, you'll waste it. If you still feel like a failure, you'll fear it. If you still see yourself as less than, you'll never rise into the authority God gave you. That's why He slows things down. Not to frustrate you, but to heal you. He wants you to stop walking like a slave and start walking like a son. He wants to strip off the labels you've worn for years. The shame, the guilt, the trauma, the self-hatred. You've been praying for a financial breakthrough, but God says, first, let me heal your identity. Because when you know who you are, you stop settling for what you're not. You stop playing small. You stop running from abundance. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. And you start walking in purpose, with confidence, with clarity, not arrogance, not entitlement. Just the quiet confidence of someone who knows, I am who God says I am. And that kind of person, that's the one God can trust with wealth. Number 6, He removes the wrong people from your life, so the blessing doesn't get drained. Listen carefully. Before God brings the blessing, He'll bring the separation, because everyone can't go with you into your next season. Some people are assignments, others are attachments. And if you're not careful, the wrong people will drain what God is trying to pour. You're praying for increase, but God sees the leeches around you. He hears the private conversations you don't. He sees the jealousy behind their smile. He knows their loyalty is only as strong as their access, and he loves you too much to let them ride the wave he's building for you. So what does he do? He starts cutting. Suddenly, people ghost you, doors close, friendships shift, connections dry up, and it hurts. You feel rejected. You feel abandoned. You wonder, what did I do wrong? But maybe you didn't do anything wrong. Maybe God is just clearing the path for what's right. Because the wrong people can kill the right blessing. Look at Abraham and Lot. God promised Abraham land and legacy. But the moment Lot came with him, there was tension, confusion, and strife. The blessing was delayed. Why? Because not everyone who starts with you is supposed to stay with you. It wasn't until Abraham and Lot separated that God said, "Now lift up your eyes and look. I will give you all this land." In Genesis 13:14, 15. God didn't speak until the wrong person left the picture. And the same goes for you. You've been asking God to bless you, but he's waiting for you to let go of who he never assigned. Not everyone who claps for you is for you. Not everyone who's close is called. Some people are dream killers. Some are drama factories. Some are disguised distractions. And the higher God takes you, the tighter your circle must become. Wealth doesn't just need protection in the bank. It needs protection in your relationships. Because one wrong voice can convince you to misuse the blessing. One wrong friend can pull you back into a lifestyle you already escaped. One wrong relationship can cost you everything. So if God is pruning your circle, don't panic. It's not punishment. It's protection. He's removing the people who would wreck the harvest. He's surrounding you with people who sharpen, not drain, who multiply, not manipulate, who protect, not poison. You're stepping into a new level, and with new levels come new boundaries. Let God clean your circle so he can release the kind of blessing that doesn't leak. Number 7. He teaches you stewardship, so you don't waste what he gives. Here's a hard truth. God doesn't bless ownership. He blesses stewardship. And until you learn to manage what you already have, don't expect him to multiply it. Many people are praying for more, but they're mismanaging what's already in their hands. You want God to increase your finances, but you're drowning in avoidable debt. You want him to bless your business, but you won't show up with consistency or excellence. You want overflow, but you don't budget, you don't plan, and you don't prioritize. Let me tell you something plain. God is not going to pour into disorder. He is a God of order. He is a God of principles. He is a God who watches how you handle the small before he gives you the big. Luke 16:10 says, "Whoever is faithful with little will also be faithful with much." So the question is, are you faithful with the little? Do you honor God with what you earn now? Do you tithe, give, and live within your means? Do you track your spending? Do you make wise decisions or emotional ones? Because what you do with $100 reveals what you do with $100,000. Let's go deeper. The parable of the talents in Matthew 25 tells us something powerful. 3 servants were each given something valuable. 2 of them multiplied what they had. The third, he buried it. He played it safe. He blamed fear. He hid what he was supposed to grow. And what did the master do? He took it from him and gave it to the one who managed it well. Don't miss this. Even favor can be transferred. If you won't steward it, God will give it to someone who will. Because in the kingdom, increase follows faithfulness, not feelings. So you want to see wealth? Then show God you can handle it. Build discipline. Create structure. Refuse to waste what he gives. Show up on time. Plan ahead. Get in financial order. Stop blaming circumstances and start managing what's already in your hand. Your future harvest is hidden in how you treat today's seed. Don't ask for what you're not prepared to maintain. Don't beg for what you'll blow through in a month. And don't expect miracles where you refuse to build management. Because sometimes the delay isn't demonic, it's just a stewardship issue. But here's the good news. Once you master management, God has no problem releasing multiplication. Number 8. He gives you a kingdom mission for the wealth, a purpose bigger than you. Let me ask you something real. Why do you want to be wealthy? To feel secure, to live comfortably, to prove something, to never struggle again. Those are human desires. And they're not all wrong, but listen carefully. If your vision ends with you, your blessing will too. Because God doesn't fund vanity. He funds purpose. He doesn't release wealth for self-glory. He releases wealth for kingdom impact. Until your motive shifts from make my life easier to expand God's kingdom, you're not ready for what you're asking for. Deuteronomy 8:18 says, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the power to produce wealth, and so confirms His covenant." Why does God give you the power to produce wealth? To confirm His covenant, to fulfill His mission, to fund what heaven is doing on earth. Wealth with no mission becomes decay. Wealth with kingdom vision becomes revival. You weren't called to just make money. You were called to make eternal impact. You're asking God to give you millions, but He's asking, what eternal difference will it make if I do? Because when your only goal is to retire early, live large, and coast through life, you've missed the point. Jesus didn't die so you could collect comfort. He rose so you could walk in purpose, and that purpose will always be bigger than you. Think of wealth like a river, not a lake. It's supposed to flow through you, not just sit with you. God blesses those who understand they're stewards, not owners. So if you're asking for wealth, you better have a why that's anchored in eternity. Feed the hungry, rescue the trafficked, plant churches, support missionaries, equip single mothers, launch outreaches, pay off someone else's debt, be the answer to someone else's prayer. When your wealth is tied to worship and work for the kingdom, God has no issue releasing overflow. But if He sees that your dreams end with your driveway, He'll hold it back, not out of spite, but out of purpose. Because wealth without mission is just wasted potential. So before you ask again, God bless me, ask yourself, what kingdom door will I open with it? What need will I meet? What chains will break because I obeyed? The moment your mission becomes bigger than your image is the moment God knows you're ready. Conclusion. When you're ready for God's wealth, His wealth will be ready for you. Let's bring it home. You've been waiting for wealth, praying, believing, struggling, asking, God, when is it my turn? But maybe the better question is, God, am I becoming the kind of person you can trust to carry it? Because real wealth from heaven doesn't just require a desire. It demands preparation. You don't need to chase money. You need to chase God, and He'll bring everything else with Him. When He sees that your heart is clean, your motives are pure, your circle is pruned, your mind is healed, your character is solid, your hands are generous, and your vision is kingdom-centered, then the floodgates open. He'll pour so much into your life, you won't have room to contain it. But not a second too soon. So if you're still in the waiting, don't waste it. Let Him break the idols. Let Him clean the motives. Let Him sharpen your stewardship. Let Him prepare your spirit. Because when the time comes, He won't just bless your wallet, He'll bless your legacy. And the wealth won't just change your life, it'll change the world through you. So don't give up. Your breakthrough isn't being denied, it's being prepared. And when you're ready, so is God.